As the ancient Stoic philosopher Seneca wisely said, we are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Introduction. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the constant demands of others, as if your own needs are always pushed aside? Perhaps you find yourself saying yes when you really want to say no, sacrificing your own well-being to please those around you. This struggle is all too common in our fast-paced world, where the pressure to be kind and helpful can lead us to neglect our own boundaries. As the ancient Stoic philosopher Seneca wisely said, we are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Have you ever thought about how this pattern affects your happiness and inner peace? If you're nodding along, you're not alone. Many of us grapple with the challenge of balancing kindness to others with the essential practice of self-care. Today we'll explore how embracing Stoic principles can empower you to reclaim your time and energy, allowing you to nurture your own well-being while still being there for those you care about. Join us as we delve into the art of setting healthy boundaries, transforming your kindness from a potential pitfall into a powerful source of strength. Lesson 1. Don't set yourself on fire to warm others. Have you ever felt drained after helping someone, only to realize that your own needs have been ignored? This is a common struggle many face in their quest to be kind and supportive. The Stoic philosophy provides valuable insights on how to balance kindness toward others with self-care. The importance of self-care. In the pursuit of kindness, it's crucial to remember that our first responsibility is to ourselves. If we neglect our own well-being, we become less effective in our ability to help others. As Marcus Aurelius, a prominent Stoic philosopher, would say, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Imagine you're on a plane that's experiencing turbulence. The flight attendants always remind you to put on your own oxygen mask before assisting others. The same principle applies in life. If you're not taking care of yourself, how can you truly be there for someone else? Recognizing the signs of overgiving. Too often, we slip into the habit of saying yes to every request for help without considering the toll it takes on us. Ask yourself, am I feeling exhausted after this interaction? This question can serve as a red flag. If you find yourself constantly giving at the expense of your own well-being, it's time to reassess your boundaries. Setting healthy boundaries. Boundaries are essential for maintaining a healthy balance between helping others and caring for yourself. Here are some practical strategies for setting boundaries. Assess your limits. Reflect on what you can realistically handle without feeling overwhelmed. Understanding your limits is the first step toward establishing boundaries. Embracing balanced generosity. Remember that true kindness doesn't mean giving until you're empty. It's about finding that sweet spot where you can offer support without sacrificing your own well-being. Consider the metaphor of two gardeners living next to each other. One gardener nurtures their own plants, resulting in a vibrant garden that produces enough to share. The other neglects their garden in favor of helping the neighbor. Eventually, their garden wilts, leaving both gardeners worse off. In the same way, nurturing your own well-being enables you to be a more effective and generous support to others. Conclusion. As we navigate the delicate balance of kindness and self-care, let's remember that we don't have to set ourselves on fire to keep others warm. By prioritizing our well-being and establishing healthy boundaries, we can cultivate a generosity that enriches both our lives and the lives of those around us. Reflect on the lessons from this discussion. How can you apply these principles to your life? Take a moment to identify one boundary you can set this week to ensure you're taking care of yourself while still being there for others. Lesson 2: Generosity has an expiration date. Generosity is a beautiful quality that enhances our lives and the lives of those around us. However, it's important to recognize that giving without moderation can lead to disappointment and depletion. The Stoics provide us with profound insights on the limits of kindness and the significance of managing our expectations. Understanding the nature of giving. When we offer help or kindness, we often do so with the hope that our generosity will be acknowledged and reciprocated. However, life has a way of showing us that the good we do may not always be remembered or returned. This isn't a reflection of our worth, but rather a natural aspect of human relationships and memory. Consider giving as planting a tree. You nurture it, hoping it will grow and provide shade or fruit. Yet, nature has its own course: storms, droughts, and seasonal changes. Similarly, our acts of kindness may not yield immediate returns, and it's crucial to detach ourselves from expecting something in return. Focus on actions, not outcomes. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us that the joy of giving should come from the act itself, not from the anticipation of repayment. By focusing on our actions rather than the outcomes, we can shield ourselves from disappointment and cultivate emotional resilience. When we give without expectation, we foster a genuine form of generosity that nurtures our spirit instead of depleting it. Embracing this mindset allows us to continue being kind and generous, regardless of how others respond. Practicing generosity wisely. To cultivate a sustainable form of generosity, reflect on your daily interactions. Ask yourself, how can I offer kindness without seeking something in return? By identifying specific scenarios where you can help without an expectation of reciprocity, you can ensure that your acts of kindness remain fulfilling rather than burdensome. Recognizing the value of relationships. It's essential to evaluate our relationships and recognize that true friendship and support should not hinge on transactional exchanges. The Stoics teach us to value ourselves for who we are rather than what we can give. This approach fosters deeper, more meaningful connections based on mutual respect and understanding. Conclusion. Generosity is a treasure that should be shared wisely. While it enriches our lives, it's crucial to recognize that it also has its limits. By focusing on our actions, detaching from expectations, and nurturing genuine relationships, we can cultivate a form of generosity that is self-sustaining and genuinely fulfilling. Reflect on your recent acts of kindness. Have you been giving with an expectation of return? Consider one way you can practice generosity this week without anticipating anything in return, allowing the act itself to bring you joy. Lesson 3: The limits of requests and setting boundaries. In life, the demands people place on us often seem endless. Requests for favors, assistance, or emotional support can easily accumulate, sometimes surpassing what we can reasonably manage. This dynamic can leave us feeling stretched thin, overburdened, and ultimately drained. Stoicism offers essential insights into the importance of setting boundaries and finding balance between helping others and preserving our own well-being. Endless requests, limited capacity. Throughout history, we see extreme examples of people being overwhelmed by the expectations of others. Even today, we often find ourselves inundated with requests, many of which the other person could easily handle on their own. Without boundaries, we risk becoming enablers, preventing others from taking responsibility for themselves. Consider the story of a devoted mother and her adult daughter. The mother, out of love, took care of every aspect of her daughter's life, shielding her from responsibility. When the mother passed away unexpectedly, the daughter was forced to become independent. This situation highlights a vital truth. While intentions may be good, excessive help can hinder the growth of others. Sometimes what people need most from us is not help, but space to learn and stand on their own. The power of self-reliance. The Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote that a man's job is to stand upright, not to be kept upright by others. This powerful idea encourages us to foster independence, not just in ourselves, but in those we care about. Excessive assistance, although well-intentioned, can unintentionally stifle the development of self-reliance in others. At the same time, we must apply this lesson to ourselves. While we may find fulfillment in helping, it's essential to evaluate whether the support we provide truly benefits the other person or merely prevents them from learning to manage their own challenges. Setting healthy boundaries. In a world where requests seem never-ending, Stoicism teaches us that boundaries are not acts of selfishness but necessary acts of self-preservation. It's about creating a balance where we can offer support without depleting ourselves. When we fail to set limits, we risk not only exhausting our energy but also enabling unhealthy dynamics in our relationships. This doesn't mean we should stop helping others altogether, but rather that we should be mindful of how much we give and when to say no. As Seneca wisely observed, "He who begins to be your friend because of the benefit will also cease because of the benefit." True relationships are based on mutual respect and genuine connection, not on the expectation of endless favors. Understanding this allows us to cultivate relationships that are fulfilling and authentic, where boundaries are respected and both parties grow. Protecting yourself with moderation. To protect your well-being and maintain meaningful relationships, it's important to set boundaries that preserve your emotional and physical health. Stoicism encourages us to help others, but also to know when to step back, allowing both ourselves and those around us to thrive independently. Conclusion. There is wisdom in moderation, and Stoicism teaches us that it's not selfish to say no when requests become excessive. By establishing clear boundaries, we not only safeguard our own well-being, but also foster an environment where others can develop resilience and self-reliance. The key is finding the balance between generosity and self-preservation, ensuring that we don't lose ourselves in the process of helping others. Reflect on your own relationships. Are there areas where you feel overextended? Consider how setting boundaries might not only help you but also empower those around you to stand on their own. Lesson 4. Being seen and treated as fragile. Stoicism teaches us that true strength lies in building inner resilience and maintaining control over our emotions. Without this inner fortress, constantly bending over backward for others can lead to being perceived as fragile or weak. When we lack boundaries, we open ourselves up to exploitation, as those around us begin to view our generosity as a vulnerability rather than a strength. The cost of overextension. Imagine consistently saying yes to every request, even when it strains your time, energy, or resources. At first, your willingness to help might be appreciated, but over time, people may start to expect it from you. When you're always available, your efforts might be taken for granted, or worse, you may be viewed as someone who can be easily manipulated. This cycle can be incredibly draining, leaving you feeling overworked, undervalued, and unappreciated. But when we begin to assert ourselves and say no, a noticeable shift happens. People start to recognize our boundaries and, as a result, respect them. This newfound assertiveness is a declaration of self-worth. It sends a message that we value our time, energy, and mental health. As Cicero, a prominent Stoic philosopher, once said, "What you think of yourself is much more important than what others think of you." By setting boundaries and valuing ourselves, we encourage others to do the same. The transformative power of no. Saying no can feel daunting, especially if you're used to always being available for others. However, the ability to say no is transformative. It establishes a clear line in the sand, indicating that you won't overextend yourself at the expense of your well-being. This act of self-respect often leads to a new level of respect from others as well. Assertively exercising the power of no not only protects your emotional and mental well-being, but also shifts how others view you. You are no longer simply a source of help, always on call. You become someone who values their time and sets clear priorities. This respect for your own boundaries can help reset the dynamics of your relationships, making them more balanced and mutually respectful. Overextension vs. genuine connection. When we are overly accommodating, we may find ourselves excluded from moments of joy, confined to the role of the helper, but rarely invited to be part of the celebration. So there can be a harsh wake-up call. The bitter truth is that sometimes, when you overextend yourself for others, they may not value you for anything beyond your assistance. This realization can serve as a litmus test for evaluating the true value of your relationships. Are you appreciated for who you are, or merely for what you provide? Stoicism encourages us to be mindful of these dynamics, teaching us that genuine relationships are based on mutual respect, not one-sided sacrifices. The paradox of respect. Interestingly, the act of setting boundaries not only protects our well-being, but often strengthens our relationships. Our human psychology is curious in that people tend to respect those who respect themselves. By saying no when necessary and prioritizing your needs, you gain the respect of others. People begin to value your time and contributions more when they realize they aren't limitless. In embracing Stoic wisdom, we discover that protecting ourselves from burnout is essential for fostering deeper, more meaningful connections. We also learn that maintaining discernment in our relationships helps us engage with people who respect us, rather than those who seek to take advantage of our kindness. In conclusion, being universally available can lead to being undervalued or even exploited, but setting firm boundaries reshapes how others see us. Stoicism teaches us that saying no is not only an act of self-respect, but a tool for fostering healthier, more balanced relationships. So this wisdom reminds us that we can be kind without being taken for granted, and strong without being exploited. Consider where you might be overextending yourself. Are there people in your life who may be taking advantage of your kindness? Reflect on how you can start drawing boundaries, saying no with confidence, and ensuring that your relationships are built on mutual respect and understanding. Now we are about to end the video. Now it is time to change your life. Write down a comment and say that you want to change your life. No matter how difficult it is to change, I will read each of your comment and feature one of the best comments in our channel.